July 18th, 2015. Shortly after midnight on a warm summer night, a blood-curdling scream shattered the silence of a tidy Henderson cul-de-sac called Pebble Ridge Lane. Neighbors who rushed outside found a scene from a nightmare. Lily Thompson kneeling in her front yard, drenched in blood, and cradling the lifeless body of her husband, Sam. Police lights bathed the palm trees and ranch-style homes in eerie blue and red flashes. Officers tried to question the hysterical woman, but her words came out in frantic sobs about betrayal, and a name they would soon come to understand. No one could imagine how something so brutal could happen among four close friends. But the truth, when it emerged, was more shocking than anyone could have feared. For this tragedy had roots in a daring pact and a forbidden passion that festered until it exploded into violence. Las Vegas is a city of secrets, where glittering lights often mask dark desires. Sin City thrives on indulgence, but behind the closed doors of one ordinary home, an indulgence would turn deadly. In a quiet suburban neighborhood on the outskirts of the Strip, two couples would cross a forbidden line that led to deadly consequences. What began as a private thrill between friends spiraled into a scandal of obsession and murder, proving that some boundaries are crossed at perilous cost. In the Henderson suburbs of Las Vegas, two households led seemingly idyllic lives. Sam Thompson, 34, a casino floor manager, and his wife Lily, 30, a real estate agent, were friendly and devoted, enjoying a comfortable life. Next door lived their best friends, Jake Harris, 35, a former Air Force sergeant turned hotel security officer, and his wife Emily, 29, a vivacious cocktail waitress. The four were inseparable: backyard barbecues on weekends, joint trips to the Strip for shows, and nights in playing cards. On their quiet cul-de-sac, one could sometimes hear the faint hum of casino traffic and see the glow of neon on the horizon, a reminder of the city's temptations just beyond the peaceful street. To neighbors, they appeared the perfect friends sharing the American dream under the desert sun. Yet behind closed doors, both marriages had their quiet discontents. Jake and Emily's opposite work hours left them little time together. Jake felt restless, and Emily worried he might stray. Sam's long shifts meant Lily spent many evenings alone, wondering if their spark was fading. These hidden cracks in their happy facades set the stage for a disastrous decision on the night all four got together. None of them imagined how those small fissures would widen into a chasm of betrayal and violence. It was a hot July evening when the couples went out to celebrate Emily's birthday. After a festive dinner at a casino steakhouse and hours of dancing amid pulsing neon and music, they returned home in high spirits, buzzed on expensive tequila and Vegas excitement. The air was thick with desert heat and adrenaline as they settled in the Thompsons' living room for one last nightcap. In the cozy haze of drink and laughter, the conversation took a daring turn. Under the influence of bravado and curiosity, someone posed a provocative idea. What if they tried swapping partners just for tonight? The suggestion hung in the air. At first, there were nervous laughs and flushed faces, but fueled by temptation and liquid courage, all four slowly agreed. It would be an adventure, a private, harmless secret just between them. With pounding hearts and shaky smiles, they proceeded. Lily led Jake to the guest bedroom down the hall, while Sam took Emily by the hand to the master bedroom. There was an unspoken understanding. One night of adventure, no strings attached, and they would all return to normal come morning. Yet, as the doors closed behind the swapped partners, any illusion of harmless fun began to crumble. In the darkness of those separate rooms, new intimacies ignited, sparks that none of them could fully extinguish in the light of day. The next day, sunlight exposed the awkward reality of what they'd done. They sat around the kitchen table in uneasy silence. Sam forced a weak laugh about needing stronger coffee, while Emily's hand trembled as she lifted her mug. Lily avoided Sam's gaze, and Jake's eyes darted nervously. They all vowed it was a one-time experiment, never to be repeated or spoken of again. Each tried to pretend nothing had changed, but the fragile bond between them had already begun to fracture. In the weeks that followed, the secret tryst festered in their minds, despite their best efforts. Each of them struggled privately with what had happened. Sam tried to bury the nagging images of Lily with another man, focusing on work to smother his jealousy. Emily battled her own suspicions about Jake's behavior. All of them attempted to act as if life was normal. Yet under the surface, doubt and guilt churned. Despite their pact of silence, the memory of that night clung to each of them, seeping into the corners of their thoughts and eroding their trust. Before long, Jake began engineering moments alone with Lily. He'd drop by the Thompson house on his lunch break or offer to help with errands when Sam wasn't around. Any excuse to see her. Initially, Lily resisted, insisting they should forget what happened. But Jake's attention made her feel wanted in a way she hadn't in years. Soon, stolen glances turned to furtive touches. One sweltering afternoon, temptation won. Lily and Jake fell into a heated kiss that swiftly led to an affair. What started as a reckless encounter became a full-blown secret romance. Lily and Jake met whenever they could. Weekday afternoons in cheap motel rooms with flickering neon signs off the strip, or quick, passionate encounters in the shadows of Lily's garage. In those stolen moments, Lily felt alive with a passion that both excited and terrified her. One humid afternoon in a shabby motel off Boulder Highway, she slipped off her wedding ring with trembling fingers and fell into Jake's arms, the world outside forgotten for a blissful instant. In that room, they drowned in desire, only to have reality crash back as soon as they parted. Each time they met, they shoved aside guilt for a few delirious hours of passion, only to have shame and fear crash down on them when they parted. Emily was the first to sense the betrayal. She noticed Jake's late returns home, the smell of unfamiliar perfume on his shirts, the way he avoided her eyes. Perhaps most telling, Jake now kept his phone glued to him, guarding it with an intensity that raised red flags. Emily's suspicions deepened when she found a receipt in Jake's truck for a motel on a Wednesday afternoon, during hours he was supposed to be at work. Her heart pounded as she stared at the slip of paper. She knew that motel. It was a place people went for secrecy. The truth glared at her, undeniable. Rage, hurt, and panic set in. That evening, Emily confronted Jake. Trembling with anger, she thrust the crumpled motel receipt at him and demanded the truth. Jake's face went pale, then flushed red. He stammered an excuse about meeting an old Air Force buddy passing through town, but Emily could see the lie in his eyes. When she asked, voice shaking, if he was sleeping with Lily, Jake's silence was as damning as any confession. Rage and heartbreak flooded Emily. All the buried discomfort about that night of swapping, all the jealousy and doubt she had tried to ignore, came roaring to the surface. Their raised voices echoed through the house. Emily called him a liar and a cheat, hurling a glass that shattered against the wall. Jake, desperate to calm her, reached out, but Emily wrenched away in disgust, shouting that their twisted arrangement had destroyed everything. She had never seen her husband look at her with such dark rage. For the first time, Emily truly feared Jake might hurt her. Terrified and furious, Emily ran out of the house in tears. She drove a few blocks away, hands shaking too badly to continue. She pulled over and, with her heart in her throat, dialed Sam's number. On the second try, he picked up. Voice raw and hesitant, Emily told him everything, haltingly spilling out the affair that Jake and Lily had been hiding since the night they all swapped partners. Sam felt as if he'd been punched in the gut as the horrible truth unfolded. His chest constricted with heartbreak and white-hot anger. He thanked Emily in a strangled whisper and dropped the phone, his whole body trembling. At home, Lily found Sam in a state she'd never seen. He stood rigid in the living room, clutching his phone, his eyes shiny with tears of rage. When he met her gaze, his voice was low and shaking as he asked if it was true. Had she betrayed him with Jake? Lily burst into tears and tried to apologize, swearing she never meant to hurt him. But Sam's world had already collapsed. The woman he loved and the friend he considered a brother had conspired behind his back. Overwhelmed by hurt and humiliation, Sam couldn't bear to hear another word. He turned on his heel and stormed out, needing to escape the house that suddenly felt like a trap of lies. Next door, Jake had watched Emily peel away in the car. He knew the dominoes were falling. If Emily hadn't already told Sam, Lily surely would. His illicit dream with Lily was now exposed, and the fallout was imminent. Jake paced his living room like a caged animal, heart hammering. In his mind, everything he feared was coming true. Sam would take Lily away, and the life he'd imagined with her would be destroyed. A dark, desperate resolve formed. Sam was in the way. Jake's love for Lily warped into something dangerous. He grabbed a tactical knife he kept from his military days and tucked it under his shirt, convincing himself that confronting Sam was the only way to fix this. In his distorted reasoning, Jake believed that if he could eliminate Sam, he and Lily might somehow be free to start anew. The street was dark and still, the only illumination from a few porch lamps and the distant glow of the Strip. Harsh words flew in the warm night air as the two men faced each other. Sam demanded to know how Jake could do this to him, fury and heartbreak cracking his voice. Lily hovered a few steps behind her husband, heart in her throat as she watched her best friend and her spouse square off. Jake tried to defend himself, saying he was in love with Lily as if that excused it. Sam's anger only grew. He lunged at Jake, shoving him backward as Lily cried out for them to stop. Before Sam could react, Jake lunged upward with the knife. The blade sank deep into Sam's abdomen with a dull thud. Sam let out a strangled cry and staggered back. Jake, adrenaline surging, struck again, plunging the knife a second time, higher into Sam's chest. A spray of warm blood splattered the driveway and Jake's arm. Lily's scream of horror echoed down the street as her husband crumpled onto the concrete, a dark red pool spreading beneath him. For a moment, all was still except Lily's sobbing cries. Several neighbors, awakened by the screams, peered from windows or rushed outside, already dialing 911 as they witnessed the horrific scene. Jake stood over his best friend's fallen body, chest heaving, the bloody knife clenched in his fist. Lily collapsed beside Sam, trying in vain to press her hands over his gushing wounds. Sam's eyes stared up at the stars, already glazing over. Within moments, his body went limp. Sam Thompson was dead. Reality crashed in on Jake. He had killed his best friend. Lily's terrified eyes looked up at him through tears as she cradled Sam's lifeless body. Jake knew there was no undoing what he'd done, and no hiding it. With a muffled curse, he turned and ran. He dropped the knife in the flower bed and sprinted to his pickup truck. Without a backward glance, he peeled off into the night, tires screeching, disappearing in seconds. Lily remained on the ground, keening over Sam's body on the blood-slicked driveway, screaming for help into the darkness. Police cars arrived within minutes, red and blue lights bathing the cul-de-sac in an otherworldly glow. They found Lily on her knees beside her husband's body, hysterical and smeared with blood. She was nearly inconsolable, wailing and refusing to let go of Sam's hand until officers gently pulled her away. Lily was in utter shock, rocking back and forth and whispering Sam's name as paramedics solemnly covered his body with a sheet. Neighbors stood on their lawns in shock as officers secured the area, and paramedics confirmed what was already clear. Sam was beyond saving. Homicide detectives took over the scene as dawn neared. A devastated Lily, hands still shaking, explained through sobs how a private wife-swapping arrangement had led to this nightmare. Even veteran detectives exchanged astonished looks at the bizarre, almost unbelievable story spilling from Lily's lips. She named Jake as the killer and did not hesitate to confess the sordid saga of infidelity that precipitated the violence. Detectives also took a statement from Emily, who had returned to the street amid the flashing lights. Through her own tears, she confirmed how she had uncovered the affair and described Jake's frightening demeanor when she confronted him, further illuminating the motive behind the crime. The officers comforted the women as best they could while broadcasting an alert for Jake Harris, now a fugitive wanted for murder. For 2 days, Jake evaded capture. An all-points bulletin warned law enforcement that the suspect was armed and desperate. Las Vegas buzzed with news of the scandalous crime, a wife-swap murder that seemed ripped from a tabloid. Neighbors expressed disbelief to reporters, saying the two couples had seemed so normal. It was the talk of the town, a tale of suburban swingers ending in bloodshed on a quiet street. Meanwhile, police tracked Jake's movements. He had ditched his truck outside the city, and finally, at a highway rest stop in Arizona, state troopers spotted and arrested him without incident. Jake was sunburned, dust-caked, and glassy-eyed, like a man haunted by demons. When officers searched him, they found a blood-flecked photograph of Lily tucked in his wallet, a chilling token of the obsession that drove him. The trial that followed transfixed Las Vegas, turning the private tragedy into a public spectacle. Courtroom benches overflowed with spectators and reporters. Newspapers dubbed the case the wife-swap slaying and ran lurid details daily, feeding the public's morbid curiosity. In court, Jake appeared gaunt and emotionless as prosecutors laid out the chilling story step by step. A consensual night of partner swapping that unleashed jealousy, an illicit love affair, and a cold-blooded murder born of obsession. The city listened in morbid fascination. Some jurors looked visibly disturbed, shaking their heads at how a private indulgence turned to murder. Lily took the stand, tearfully apologizing to Sam's family as she recounted the nightmare in full. Emily also testified, describing her discovery of the affair and the dread she felt that night. The defense claimed Jake acted in a heat of passion, but the evidence of premeditation was undeniable. He had armed himself and sought out Sam under cover of darkness. It took the jury little time to convict Jake Harris of first-degree murder. At sentencing, the judge lambasted Jake as a cold-blooded betrayer of friendship and trust, before imposing the maximum penalty. Jake was sentenced to life in prison, with no possibility of parole. He showed little emotion as he was led away in shackles, the courtroom silent except for the quiet sobbing of both Lily and Emily. In the aftermath, the two women were left to pick up the pieces of their shattered lives. Sam's family held a somber funeral for him under a blazing desert sun, laying him to rest while struggling to comprehend the betrayal that preceded his murder. After burying her husband, Lily quietly packed her belongings and fled Las Vegas for good. She could not bear the memories of the home where love, lust, and violence had collided. Emily, her marriage destroyed, and her trust in tatters, also moved away to escape the gossip and pain. Emily wrestled with endless what-ifs in the aftermath. What if that wicked idea had never been suggested? What if she had seen the signs earlier? Lily, too, was consumed by guilt for opening the door that led to her husband's death. Those questions and regrets would haunt them for a lifetime. Swapped partners, shattered lives, became a cautionary whisper around town. Neighbors in that once peaceful community never forgot the night their street turned into a crime scene. The tale of the Thompsons and Harrises stands as a grim warning that some doors, once opened, lead only into darkness. In a city famous for indulgence and secrecy, this disturbing saga of jealousy and bloodshed remains one of its most haunting legends. A scandal born in the shadows that ended under the unforgiving light of truth, written in blood on a quiet Las Vegas street. In the end, what happened behind closed doors on that street proved that even in Las Vegas, some secrets refuse to stay buried. The scars of that night run deep, long after the headlines have faded.